This podcast is a member of the Place to Be Nation family. Visit us at placetobenation.com, the only place to be in your pop culture world.
Place to Be Nation Pop Experience. Welcome back to another episode of Pop Goes Degrassi. I'm your host, James Gruenberg, and tonight, me and my co-host, John Casalica, we are going to be discussing Degrassi Next Generation episodes from Season 2, Episode 18, Dressed in Black, and Episode 19, Fight for Your Right. But before we dive into everything, John, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing great this morning, actually. Excited about entering the New Year here in Vietnam. Lunar New Year was just this past week, so everybody's here celebrating the Year of the Fire Horse. And as we know, a new year doesn't always bring new problems for our Degrassi friends. And we'll see in Toronto today, we deal with some pretty, already well-established relationships as we move forward.
Yeah, as we're seeing now, we've seen one relationship actually get back on track as we've seen that it's going to be Ashley and Jimmy trying to get better.
Yep.
And as they
Sean and Emma feel pretty resolved. And now we're back with our good pals, Ashley and Jimmy, Degrassi's best couple last year. And we have rekindled, but I don't know, some trouble may be brewing.
Yep. So without further ado, let's deep dive into the episode here, John.
Do it.
Ashley, we start off with Ashley. She's singing to Jimmy and is expressing how happy she is that her and Jimmy are back together. And Jimmy feels a little bit uncomfortable with the songs as we get our opening intro and credits. So already off the bat, it does seem that Jimmy is really uninterested in a lot of this singing. And like this new Ashley with all the makeup on and the candles and everything, John.
Yeah, definitely a little different setting from the bedrooms we've seen from Ashley before. She's fully embraced this almost goth look, as they mentioned, for her, the spikier hair, the black eyeliner, and never one to write an upbeat song is Ashley. There's no wonder that Jimmy feels a little awkward in this setting.
Yeah, we go to the next day, and Jimmy asks Ashley to sign his eighth grade yearbook. I was a little, I know. I was a little like, wait, why are you having her sign your eighth grade yearbook? Wouldn't you want to wait until the new freshman ninth grade yearbook comes in?
I don't know. As we go through, it might seem that this is all part of Jimmy's trying to reclaim Ashley here, try to make things go back to the way they were, and continuous reminders of how she used to look, how she used to act. It seems pretty inoffensive here, and also just a little clumsy even, that it's like, hey, you never signed my yearbook last year. I really want you to, but I don't know. Maybe Jimmy has some different motives.
Yeah, I was like, hey,
carrying around my yearbook the year after. I wasn't carrying around my yearbook the year after, though. I can tell you that.
No, I definitely wasn't. I mean, it was always fun to could go back, in your room and just like, oh man, I remember these guys and everything too. I mean, I still go back to my yearbook maybe once or twice, but it's like, man, high school seems like so long ago, John.
Absolutely, yeah. I'm sure you were looking at your pictures of the RC car club or whatever you might have been a member of there, Gurney.
On the football team, yep. So, Jocks... yeah, I was actually on the football team. Yep. So then Jocks start making fun of Ashley's looks, and Jimmy says sorry. JT is then talking about Dr. Sally's sex talk So, John, the new 8th grade class, they get the same sex talk that Jimmy and Ashley's grade got last year. With all the condom nonsense. Not all about the same sex relationships here, but they're going to get the protection talk here.
Exactly. Yeah. And, as we'll see, Dr. Sally's not able to even make it. Maybe the producers had wiped out the budget for their Dr. Sally appearance on this season already and weren't able to do so. But yeah. Grade 8, safe sex. Grade 9, hey, maybe there's some alternative lifestyles out there that you want to learn about.
Yep. JT runs in the page and then he starts acting awkwardly because he's like, Toby, this is going to be the path to getting girls between this with this talk with Dr. Sally. But alas, JT is
educated and then he can be the lady he wants.
Yep. JT is sadly disappointed as it's Coach Armstrong giving out the sex talks here. JT wants Dr. Sally, but she's in China. JT says, oh, well, let's get her on an airplane back. And Coach Armstrong's like, just pay attention. As he's passing out the condoms, JT accidentally flings a condom on Coach Armstrong's shoulder. And, he's always like, always make sure you carry a condom with you. So, again, JT acting very immature again.
Yep. For every little step forward he takes, whether it's dealing with the guinea pigs or, being pretty skilled as a seamsman, I guess, JT still has that class clown kind of ability in him.
Yep. Miss Kwan is handing out a poetry assignment, and Ashley is partnered up with Craig, and Jimmy gets Hazel. Very much foreshadowing for what is to come, John.
A little foreshadowing. I love the melodrama of them looking at the names of their assigned partners and feeling exchanging almost like devastated looks that Jimmy and Ashley are not paired together. I can imagine that feeling back in the day. Be like, what's this mean that I'm paired with somebody else? And, hopefully they can make the most of it here.
Yeah, especially 9th grade relationships here. As like Ashley has like we just got back together and now we're like being separated again.
Yeah. Ugh.
Yep.
Like they don't see each other the entire day in school.
Mm-hmm. Craig is giving ideas to Ashley for the play scene, and at first Ashley just is fogged out, like she's not responding to anything. But she eventually comes to her senses. So, and she's like, "Oh, I think it's perfect." Like whatever, what Craig was giving out the ideas for here. Toby and Ashley are at dinner, and Toby is talking about how health class was weird. And oh no, never mind. We're not at dinner yet. Sorry about that. Toby's talking in the hallway how health class was weird, and JT is rambling on how Dr. Sally wasn't there, and then Toby just goes like, "Shut up!" And then Toby asks JT when they should buy condoms, and JT says right now, saying no time like the present. Toby should know better here, John.
Toby should know better. Toby is, kind of lost in his own thoughts with his budding relationship with Kendra. But yeah, no better than to go to JT for advice on this. You're right.
Yeah, I mean, like, really, Toby, you're going to take JT's advice? Like, come on, man. Like we said, like, he's better than that, than to go for another one of JT's schemes here.
Well, it's exactly that. You can tell we're in for a nice Toby JT scheme as our B plot.
Yep. Hazel and Jimmy are discussing their scene, and Hazel tells Ashley Jimmy is hilarious. Ashley Ashley spots her old self in a photo on Jimmy's locker and tells Jimmy to burn it, but Jimmy says he likes it. So again, Jimmy just likes the old photos of Ashley, but Ashley's kind of pointing out that, well, that's not me anymore.
Exactly. Yeah, he's clinging to that past, and maybe in hopes that something could come about.
JT and Toby are condom browsing at the local convenience store and are nervous at the checkout line, like all freshmen are, trying to buy condoms. I'm surprised that these two were allowed to buy condoms. I always thought that, I guess not. Like, you can buy condoms at the age of 14. But I was like, I wonder if it's like one of those 18 or up sort of like ID things, like cigarettes and Powerball and Lotto, That's what I thought at first. But I was like, yeah, go ahead.
I was in a much darker place than these guys, and I tended to just, in my curiosity of learning about condoms, just shoplifted them instead. So hopefully the statute of limitations is run out on that. CVS won't be coming after me anytime soon. But yeah, and I can definitely recall like having it like in my pocket and went through the laundry, and my mom saying, "What the hell is this?" Like, and so their curiosity rings true here of lurking in the pharmacy aisle and looking everything over. And of course, you're not going to just buy one. They're buying a bunch of different boxes to see all the different kinds here. I thought this was really cute. This is played for good laughs here.
Yeah. And Toby's like, you don't need extra large, JT. And then JT's like, look, Toby, glow in the dark condoms. Yeah, like
all those different features on them when you'd see it. And that was like, you're like, who are they marketing to with this stuff?
Yeah. And then JT actually asks for the cashier's number on their way out. And she's like, move along, little boy.
You know what? JT's growing in confidence. He's shooting his shot here. You got to give him some credit.
Yeah. Ashley's Ashley's family and Jimmy are eating dinner, and Ashley asks Toby about the sex lecture, saying teens should have access to condoms. Jimmy says he guesses and proceeds to eat. Jeff, who's Toby's stepdad, not Ashley's dad, says that it promotes underage sex, but her mom, Ashley's mom, says at least they will be using protection. Ashley then looks for Jimmy's opinion, and he is unsure, but says Jeff is right. Ashley says Jimmy is allowed an opinion, but shouldn't have had to ask for one or force it out of him. So a very good dinner conversation. Should teens under the age of even 16 be allowed to have access to condoms? It says that one side says it promotes underage sex, but Ashley's side says at least they're being protected about it with her mom.
Yep, and you can see the seeds of tension here again with Jimmy and Ashley as she's just wanting Jimmy to take a stand on something. He hasn't said anything about like the picture with her. He's really kind of standoffish about that. And here he's kind of just leaning whichever way, but not wanting to go against her, not wanting to rock the boat, I guess, until she finally gets him to side. I was surprised she didn't just say, I was expecting when she said, you're entitled to have an opinion. I was expecting her to say, even if it's the wrong one, but she's glad she didn't take that. She just said, I wish I didn't have to force it out of you. And, hopefully, I don't know, this is pushing us towards some sort of resolution between the two.
Mm-hmm. So Toby is going back to the locker, and he hands JT back the condoms back in school, Spinner slams JT into his locker and the box of condoms spill out. JT says they aren't his, so Spinner gets the idea that Toby is getting ideas about having sex with Kendra. Spinner says Toby is trashed. Way to go, JT.
Yeah, doesn't try to like take ownership here. Doesn't try to help his friend out. He knows exactly where Spinner's simple mind will go on this, and of course it does go that way. He's ready to turn all his ire on Toby, and seek to try to, as he'll say, rearrange his face.
Mm-hmm.
Classic
Craig
reaction from Spinner here, though, of just overreacting and full on ready to punch his problems away, right?
Yep, yeah. Craig takes a picture of Ashley for Jimmy to hang up. He does, but he doesn't. Craig takes a picture of Ashley for Jimmy to hang up. And then Jimmy takes the picture, but then he doesn't replace the old pic. Ashley forces a kiss. Oh no! Ashley then forces not a kiss, the question out of Jimmy and says he likes the old pic better. So Ashley asks, "Well, do you like the old pic or do you want a new pic?" And Jimmy gets forced it out that he likes the old pic better.
Yep. Finally, again, having to drag something out of Jimmy, but this has been his problem all along. He's still clinging to the old Ashley, and as she gives him something updated for her, he's not ready to let go of the old, and she puts it on him here. Tough scene for her. You feel bad for her here, as she's definitely starting to realize maybe this isn't working out.
Yeah,
Craig being supportive here, trying to help her out, in that relationship. I see Craig being a good friend. That's great.
Yeah, as he's saying, it's I'm sure Jimmy will understand that you're going through a different phase and that he's going to have to accept the new Ashley here. And it's he's just be who you want to be. Don't be anything else for anybody. And then she's in her room and she's looking at the 8th grade yearbook again, but this time without her makeup on. And she's like, "Oh, well, maybe I can try being my old self."
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah. Bringing that back and giving some thought as to being, the overarching theme that we have here. And it's, no coincidence that the play they're performing is Taming of the Shrew, and the scenes are about Petruchio wanting to tame Kate from being her own self to be a perfect woman, and behave and dress and act the way that he would want. And she's you can see starting to feel that way, as she and Craig have even touched on.
Mm-hmm. So then the next day, Ashley walks around without her makeup on, looking like her old self, except for the hair. The hair's really short, and she's getting laughed at. Ellie doesn't understand Ashley's look, and Jimmy actually says he was getting used to the goth look. So now, Jimmy all of a sudden's like, "Oh, well, I was getting used to the goth look." And then, Ellie's like, "Why are you trying to change? I thought you were happy being who you want to be." Again, the female version of Craig.
And, Spinner, in his ever so tactful way, says, "Oh, you look human. You look alive." But Jimmy, I don't know. You think there's any truth to his saying, it's pretty half-hearted? He's like, "I was getting used to it," not, "Oh, it didn't bother me." He's just like, "I was getting used to it," which feels like, oh, he still didn't like it, but he was going to put up with it. Again, not exactly the most loving support from here.
No, it wasn't. Like he was like, "Oh, I can get used to this," and it was like, "Really?" Because you seemed really uncomfortable when she had the makeup on, and you're going to be like, "Oh, I can get used to it." All of a sudden, now it's like, "No, you really can't, Jimmy." JT and Toby are trying to avoid Spinner. Spinner finds them and chases after them. Toby runs into Kendra. Kendra asked if Toby thought they were going to have sex, and Toby is left stunned. So Toby is digging himself into a bigger hole here, thanks to JT.
Absolutely. The scheme has landed him in problems with his girlfriend and his girlfriend's brother. And that's the price you pay for going along with a JT scheme, it seems. But I don't feel bad for Toby. Trust me.
No. Well, I kind of do. I mean, this is all JT's fault. I'll tell you what, I feel proud of Toby and like him here. Paige also wonders why Ashley reverted back to her old self, reverted back to her old look. And then Ashley meets Craig, who is also stunned by Ashley's look without any makeup. Craig says that the villain still has a voice, and the villain will still love the woman just the way she is. So in the play, it's like the villain will still like the woman just the way she is what I was getting from that.
At least that's the case. That's what Craig's, yeah. Yep. Craig doing the good reading comprehension for Ashley here, in case she didn't really understand the meanings in Taming of the Shrew. But she's starting to see, I think it's really starting to see the parallels in her life. We even had Ellie say, after her look, she's like, I don't know, it feels like happier, it feels simpler. And Ellie says, it feels tame. Oh no, calling it out. Come on, Ashley, be yourself.
Yeah, everyone's telling Ashley to be herself here. And, Craig really puts it into perspective that no matter how the woman looks, if the villain still loves her, he will love her for how she looks and who she is. But that's not Jimmy now, exactly. Is it? No, it is not. No, it's not. Not Jimmy at all. Okay, so we're back with Toby here as Spinner finally catches Toby, and Toby says he wasn't thinking about sex with Kendra, and that they only kissed once. But if they are thinking about having sex, he would want to be protected. He would want to be protected, and he would want to protect Kendra as well. Toby says it was JT's idea, and then Spinner lets go of Toby and goes to find JT.
Nice.
Toby was being a man
turnaround here.
Yeah, Toby was being a man.
Toby was ready to take his beating. He was ready to take his beating. He was okay with it, and he stood up for what he wanted. But Toby, he's only kissed Kendra once. He had so much practice with that, as like blowing air kisses or against the window outside her class for how many times, to only get one kiss. Come on, Toby, step it up.
Yep. I mean, yeah, they've been dating for 4 episodes supposedly.
Yep.
Jimmy tells Ashley good luck with the presentation. Hazel and Ashley says the same thing. Hazel and Jimmy do a sports routine. And then Craig and Ashley do a dark sort of subject of the play. They took it from a darker approach, and of being forced to change and not being allowed to be themselves. So that's what they got from the play. As Miss Kwan was asking, what did you see, and what did you think that the scene meant here?
Yeah, and you get it straight from Jimmy, who says, as he plays the football player and Hazel plays the cheerleader, he says, "Oh, Petruchio gets, what he's hoping for in love, his own personal cheerleader." In that case, whereas we get the dysfunctional relationship take from Craig and Ashley, and Craig in a really nice touch, slipping on the glasses. You can see that almost shift in personality for him right there, as he's looks much more like his father from earlier this season, putting on those same style glasses there. And he even after the scene takes them off and seems almost jarred back to reality to himself.
Oof. Yeah, I forgot. Like, it's funny too how like a scene like that can bring back trauma for Craig, but he really just brushes it right off. Imagine if it was Paige in the scene instead of Ashley. That would have been worse.
Right, playing it in an assault form definitely would be triggering for her.
Mm-hmm. Spinner finds JT and he wraps JT up in condoms as other students laugh at him, and even Toby laughs "Oh man, this is hilarious." And Spinner with the lines, he's like, women already have enough to deal with. They do not need the pressure of having sex on them as well. So again, Spinner actually sticking up for women here, as he's always made fun of Ashley's looks, but when it comes to his sister and sex and women, Spinner takes a protective stance on it.
Yep. It was this moment, and actually his kind of storyline throughout, that made me, as we'll get into MVP and LVP soon, really close to giving this to Spinner, because I think he had the overarching, most fulfilling message here. I thought this was great for him, and he actually sounds somewhat educated and eloquent here in his advocacy at the end, saying they don't need pressure. Girls don't need pressure from knuckleheads like you two to think about having sex. Like, there's enough pressure on their own.
Ashley hands Jimmy a letter in the hallway. Actually, she pulls it in the yearbook as well, and Jimmy starts to read it, and it's a poem as Ashley is crying and taking steps back. Her last words are in the poem, "Goodbye." And Jimmy looks up at her, and that's how we end the episode here, John, as it fades to black with Ashley crying in the distance and Jimmy just looking up at her.
A wonderfully melodramatic slow back away by Ashley as Jimmy reads the breakup poem aloud. Love always, Ashley, but she's moving on. She needs to be herself and find somebody who would actually care for her in that way, and not just want to tame her, as it would be. So yeah, really big point. We had we've seen this couple break up already. We see them come back together, and now once again Jimmy and Ashley have parted ways. Once Degrassi's star couple, now on the open market. Yep.
And this sort of reminds me of our brother podcast over on the 90210 No-So feed, where you can catch all the Beverly Hills 90210 episodes with Justin Rosero and Tim Capel, as they just covered a big breakup, as well as Kelly and Dylan have officially broken up as well, John.
Yep. Would you put Kelly and Dylan as what's their parallel in the Degrassi universe? I feel like they're they're a couple that came together off of kind of a convenience, bringing together. They were in other relationships, and they never seemed to really really be in love, to me at least, even though Dylan would say, oh, they were soulmates.
It sounds,
I don't know. Maybe this.
I would say like it's like Emma and Sean almost. I mean, even though if like, but again, it's like, well, they don't like Emma and Sean don't end up together in the long run either. But it's like, they basically like, they do different relationships and they try to come back, but in the end, it just doesn't work out, where it's like it works out for Dylan and Kelly in like the really long run. It's like they went their separate ways through and through and somehow just ended up back together.
Yeah, I could see that. All right.
Yep. MVP of this episode, John, who do you have?
Yeah. I hate giving things to Ashley too much. Like, I think she can be pretty whiny at times, but this is really, again, probably her episode. You would have to, I would give her the MVP. She struggles with these identity issues, and the fact that she stands up for herself at the end in her own kind of still wimpy way of writing a kiss off poem to Jimmy. I think it still works. So good for Ashley and coming around.
Yeah, I'm going to give it to Ashley as well. This episode was all about her and finding herself. And again, she goes through all the emotions. She's very happy that her and Jimmy are back together, confused on what Jimmy wants. And then she begins like questioning like what he wants and stuff. Goes through the phase of trying to be normal again for Jimmy. And then she's like, nope, that's not me. And goodbye, Jimmy.
Yep.
LVP, John, I have JT with Toby coming in as a hard second here, because JT is very immature, and he's also going to be very immature in the next episode here as well. But like, dude, come on, man, grow up. Like, just don't be all like, oh my gosh, you got to buy condoms and like be weird about it. Like, yeah, it's a very sensitive subject, and you sold out your best friend apparently, who's supposed to be your best friend. You just saw him down the river. So JT is the LVP in my book. Toby comes in a hard second because he should have known better than to listen to JT about sex talks.
Yeah, I'm with you on JT here. Like I said earlier, for every step forward he seems to take, it feels like maybe he's going to be a bit more of a grown-up here. He still has those tendencies, those immature tendencies that lead him down these paths. He can't resist the idea of, hey, let's go to the drugstore and buy every condom. Let's bring them to school. Let's and when somebody gets caught with them, let me blame it on my friend, or not fess up for it, even though I know it'll get him in trouble. You kind of glossed over one character debut here we had, which was Sully. He's not named in this episode, but he is the one who heckles Ashley and tells Jimmy to, date the freaks so it'll save the hot girls for them. I would give Sully my close second for his like insulting of Ashley and Jimmy in the hallway. Just really kicked me off.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, so we're gonna see now what happens here as our like you said, Degrassi's hottest couple is now broken up for good. This seems like it's the end.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Well, let's move on. Yep. Oh, yeah, it does seem like the end. Let's move on, John, to Season 2, Episode 19, Fight for Your Right. We see Emma is trying to practice on explaining to Mr. Raditch why there should be healthier foods in the cafeteria, and Snake is in charge as Spike is away for a few days. So Snake is playing Mr. Raditch, and Emma is going on one of her little proposal crusades here, as she's known to have. Like, what sounds like as a proposal turns into a crusade for most of the times that Emma speaks of. Wouldn't you say, John?
I would say that. We had the squeegee kids earlier. We've had her science experiment that was judged by Mr. Simpson that she didn't like before. And now we're getting into everybody's biggest issue, of course, is in high school or middle school, GM foods, genetically modified foods. And she's worried that the cafeteria is pushing these on kids, and they might have some unhealthy long-term side effects. But yes, yep. Emma gets an idea in her head, and it becomes a crusade. Sometimes those crusades lead her to the arms of a pedophile, and sometimes they land her in this head-on confrontation with Mr. Raditch, as we'll see today.
Yep. And like we said, Snake is in charge, so he's like, "Oh, well, I think you should go to bed." And she's like, I guess so. I don't know. Like, what do you think?" And Mr. Simpson's like, "Emma Nelson better report to bed, or else she's going to get detention for the whole year." So he's new at this whole like stepdad. He's trying to be like the fun, nice guy, but he understands that he has to lay down the law when it comes to bedtime and stuff here with Emma as well. Like knowing that she can't be up the whole night basically.
Yeah, still navigating the teacher-parent dynamic, and obviously our step-parent dynamic as it would be. But doing a decent job of it, it seems, and actually he'll be tested on that a bit this episode.
Yep. So our 8th graders are walking into school, and Manny compares Emma to Joan of Arc, saying that she's going to stick up for the school and fight for her rights. And then Spinner is thinking about working in the cafeteria part-time to make some money here. And Marco's like, "I don't know, Spin. That seems like a bad idea." But again, Spinner reminds them that he has worked in the cafeteria on punishment. He was like, "It wasn't that bad. The hairnet was cool and everything." So Jimmy comes in with a new fresh pair of kicks and a new 555 Soul sweatshirt. Spinner's like, "Where'd you get that? That must have cost like $120 or something." And then Jimmy's like, "Yeah, Dad went a little overboard with the birthday."
Oh man, always going overboard, Dad. Yeah, we haven't met Jimmy's dad yet, but we've seen the apartment, and we've seen that. Yeah, Jimmy is usually decked out in pretty nice clothes, or like expensive clothes at least. And now just kind of for Spinner, it feels like he's almost rubbing it in his face, it seems.
Yep. And then I think this is a bunch of makeup presents for when Jimmy's parents actually did miss his birthday. Because in that last episode, all he had to do was call
Alfredo or Francisco. I always get it wrong.
Antonio. Yes. Antonio.
There we go.
Yeah. Antonio had to take care of Jimmy while his parents were away. And I believe that was his birthday, I think. Yeah.
Oh, man.
Yep. So, again, Jimmy's parents trying to make up with all these expensive gifts and stuff. I think I had a 555. I did have a 555 Soul sweatshirt.
Really?
Yeah.
555 Soul, no. Definitely Mark Echo stuff, especially when Echo started putting out the Star Wars line. I had that, but not 555 Soul.
Yep. Emma and Ashley are presenting a proposal to get genetically modified foods out of the cafeteria, and they're explaining it to Mr. Raditch, of course. But Raditch is worried about the cost. Emma says they add scorpion DNA to the foods, and Raditch says that while it is weird that they do that, he thinks that it's all speculation. And with all the cutbacks, he refuses to move forward with Emma's proposal. So again, Emma really did.
Raditch seems pretty rational here. He's saying, he's expressing, hey, it's understood, but the reason they do that is to fend off predators, or disturb predators. and when the food's being grown, and so they can actually grow. There's no like longitudinal study on this to show long-term effects. So Emma's is, under Emma's thoughts are kind of speculative as well. So he's happy to take that risk because he feels like if it's approved, from FDA or whatever they have in Canada, the Canadian equivalent of the FDA, he's okay with it.
Mm-hmm. Spinner is looking at expensive clothes on the internet, and he notices that Jimmy has a new MP3 player. He says that must have cost like $500, and Jimmy says, "Yeah, it's Dad again, going overboard with the gifts with the gifts again for his birthday." And then Spinner says, ever since Quan broke his CD player, he's back to cassettes. And Jimmy says, "Sucks to be you," which is like, a huge low blow to Spinner here.
Yeah, Jimmy's kind of missing the point. He's not really seeing the differences in the way Spinner is. And Spinner's definitely starting to have some hard feelings in this like haves and have-nots relationship between them. And some definite jealousy starting to rise up for Spinner here.
Yeah. Sean tells Emma to just not eat the food in the cafeteria, but Emma wants the students to know what they are eating. Sean tells Emma to not back down, and Emma takes that to heart. So we're getting a little more of Sean and Emma time here, and Sean is always going to have Emma's back here.
This is a nice moment between them. I mean, it echoes some earlier pieces where, I remember Sean saying, "Yeah, if Emma thought it up, it must be a good idea," with the tampon machine for the bathroom. And, he says to her here, he's like, "Well, you seem to feel really strongly about this. And, you usually, when you do feel passionate about something like this, there's for a good reason. So, go for it. Don't be quiet."
Yep.
So good supportive boyfriend Sean out of nowhere.
Yeah. Marco and Jimmy rag on Spinner's clothes, and Spinner calls Jimmy a spoiled rich kid. So here's my problem here. Like, Marco really just opening up the can of worms here, like ragging on Spinner. Like, come on, bro. Just because, like, you have like nice shirts too. Like, we have to harbor a secret that you have, and you're being a dick right now. Like, this is so not Marco. And then Spinner calls Jimmy a spoiled rich kid. Jimmy calls Spinner a freeloader, and he and Marco walk off. Oh, so Marco all of a sudden playing the victim, like, "Oh, Jimmy's hurt, like, let's walk off." Like, Marco was a dick in this episode. I mean, well, in this scene.
Yeah, well, it definitely brought up some hidden tension between Spinner and Jimmy here. Jimmy seems to have some resentment that, as he's even calling Spinner out, he's like, "Man, there's like grooves in my couch from, Spinner spending so much time there. My mom already is cooking him food for him all the time and everything." So it seems he's had some of these feelings already, and Marco, kind of threw the match in to let this one really start blazing.
Yeah, this is not Marco. Marco is the one trying to find himself. Huh? What'd you say? Oh yeah, breakdancing.
Where's the breakdancing sensitive, confused Marco that we know from before? Bring that guy back.
Yeah.
Maybe Spinner he's more confident.
Yep. Spinner notices that Jimmy forgot his MP3 player, and he walks off with it. So now a very expensive item is in Spinner's hands. Emma the next morning is handing out flyers telling students to not eat food from the cafeteria. Ellie contradicts her, saying the school helps kids afford lunch, but Emma doesn't want them to get cancer 20 years down the road. And Ellie actually says that she'd rather get the cancer down 20 years down than starve to death, which I agree with Ellie here. It's almost like when Tracker was saying, oh, well, having a computer at home or whatever whatever the problem was with that was helping Sean with his with getting his homework done and stuff, because Sean can't afford a computer at home, so having the computers at the school really does help Sean get his homework done here. And Ellie says, well, they might be bad, but at least they're feeding the kids.
Exactly. Yeah. It's a nice thing Degrassi does here, and they've done throughout, actually, is that they don't just give us Emma as the only opinion and the only one that matters. As, people present like the rational, practical reasoning on the other side, alternatives here, in both Ellie and even Mr. Raditch. If, maybe Raditch could be a little more open-minded towards Emma's opinion too, but, he's ready to step in here, and he's going to take some action.
Mm-hmm. Mr. Raditch takes the flyers away and says Emma must stop spreading propaganda on school grounds. During the morning announcements,
tough words coming, spreading propaganda, and something that'll come back to haunt him pretty quickly here, right?
Oh, yeah. Mr. Raditch takes the flyers away. During the announcements, Lunch Lady Sheila and JT make a special announcement. Lunch Lady Sheila says she uses the finest ingredients for lunch meats, and the prices are affordable to all students, $3.99. Now, a lunch back in 2001. Well, I was in like the third and fourth grade. Lunch was $1.75. Maybe it is a little bit more expensive in Canada, but still affordable for the Canadian students, John.
Yeah, I think ours were $2 in high school, and that's graduating 98. So, we're right around it was like, $1.80, something like that. It's Canadian dollars, Grooney. So that's that funny money up there. Who knows?
Yep. Emma changes her mind about backing off and will fight on. Emma confronts JT and Toby about buying food in the cafeteria, and she inadvertently starts a food fight as all the students are throwing stuff at each other. We see Paige and Jimmy start throwing stuff, Toby and Jimmy. So basically, Emma actually doesn't even start the food fight. She just inadvertently causes it. Mr. Raditch then sends Emma home for the rest of the day, but she accuses Raditch of punishing her for protesting, and Raditch sends her home to Mr. Simpson, actually. So, again, Emma thinks she's getting punished for protesting, as she says that she did not start the food fight, and that Mr. Raditch, again, is just punishing her for protesting.
Right, but the protest is on the point of the that the disturbance was caused in the cafeteria. She's trying, thinks it's that they're trying to silence her, but and Mr. Simpson very rationally says, "Hey, you're not allowed to be in the class. You got to go home. We'll talk about it later." Here we go. Emma's first real punishment or consequences for her protest that we've ever seen, right?
Yeah, we'll get there. Yep, as we are moving along in this in the episode here. So again, Raditch sends her home, but instead of calling her mom, he's going to release her into Mr. Simpson's custody, obviously, and she will have him to deal with. But Emma thinking, oh, he'll just let me off easy and I can go back to school and stuff, blah, blah, blah. So Jimmy realizes his MP3 player is gone. Spinner then says Jimmy's dad will just buy him a new one as our two friends are butting heads again here.
Yeah, and that's the real, here we really see Spinner's like resentment towards Jimmy as he's just like, what do you care? I love he keeps hitting him with the papa, as if Jimmy's ever spoken like that in any way. But he's like, Papa, we'll just buy you a new one. But,
Papa, we'll buy you a new one. Papa.
Be a bit more careful with your stuff here, man.
Yep. Emma comes into Simpson's class.
My memory of this was always that Spinner was more of an My memory of this, Grooney, I don't know about you, was that Spinner was more of an active thief in this rather than Jimmy just leaving it behind. But, I mean, either one's a bad look for him.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, it's going to get worse for Spinner here. Emma comes into Simpson's class, but Simpson sends her home for the day. And then Spinner goes into the bathroom, and he sees Sully in the bathroom. He says, Sully, I hear you want like a new MP3 player. And Sully goes, yeah, I really want something like new and good. And so Spinner shows Sully the MP3 player. He's like, where'd you get that? He goes, my dad gave it to me for my birthday and stuff, blah, 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 and everything. So he takes a page out of Jimmy's playbook, and then he's like, that must have, again, so he's like, that costs $500. How much do you want for it? Spinner lowballs for a really cheap price of only $120. And then Sully asks if it's stolen, and Spinner says no. Wow, Spinner, you're really getting a bargain here. Well, Sully is. Yeah,
Spinner not the smartest businessman here. He even said he said up front to Jimmy that thing must have cost $500. And Spinner leads with the offer of $120, which is exactly what the 555 Soul shirt costs. Why not give yourself a little breathing room here? Spinner asked for $200. You could probably get that, right? $150 something. Not the brightest guy as we have come to know, but definitely setting out to get all for the want of a sweatshirt, sir.
Mm-hmm. Mr. Armstrong is leading the 8th graders out for gym class, and he realizes that Emma Nelson is suspended, and even JT's like, yeah, what a shocker, isn't it? But as they are jogging and preparing for gym class, they notice that Emma is on the sidewalk having a sign that says, don't eat the genetically modified foods. And Ellie is actually interviewing Emma for the Grapevine, and she doesn't hold back. She says that she's being sent home for protesting and that she didn't start the food fight. And then Raditch tells Ellie to beat it as this interview is over. And then again, Raditch is like, well, you have to apologize tomorrow on the morning announcements, or it will be a week suspension.
Oof. We got some of our best Canadian accent work in this give and take between Ellie and Emma. We had 3 a boots and 1 or 2 again in here. Always great to see that on display.
Mm-hmm.
But Ellie now a reporter. I don't think we've seen her in that role yet. It's all been Liberty or Ashley on the reporting front.
Yeah, but I feel like being Ashley's best friend, Ellie was like, hey, do you think you can give me a job as reporting? And Ashley was like, yeah, sure.
There you go.
Uh-huh. So then Jimmy sees Spinner, and he says, sorry for making fun of Spinner's clothes. So, John, what time do you think lunch was? And what time do you think school ends for these students here? This is a really long day. Was lunch at 11 o'clock, you would say?
It might be. I mean, our high school had 4 different lunch periods. to spread it out. And I think our earliest one was like 10:45.
Okay, ours was
And the latest one was close to 2, and you got out of school at 2:35. So it was like you were eating lunch and going home, basically.
okay. Ours was I think 12:30. Like somewhere around there. I think I forget, but like it was we had A lunch, B lunch, and C lunch. It was like A lunch you had the lunch and then the hour of class. B was a half, then lunch, then back to class, and then C was the full hour and then lunch.
Okay.
Catch my drift, yeah. So that was interesting. I like the B lunch because go to study hall, then go to lunch, then go back to study hall. And being a senior, I just really like to veg out in that senior courtyard for all 3 lunch periods.
That sounds great. Yeah, we had open campus for seniors, so you would just go.
Yeah. So Sully then comes up and he has the money for Jimmy's MP3 player, and Jimmy realizes that Spinner stole it. And so then, Spinner's like, oh, I don't know what to do. And then he's like, well, the deal's off, Sully. And, Jimmy just walks away mad. And then Spinner is left with the yolk on his face as he just takes the MP3 player, and he just walks off, But Jimmy is like really, really mad at Spinner here.
Of course, yeah. He's trying to make up with him. He's apologizing and say, hey, I know, I shouldn't have been ragging on your clothes, and, we're still good buddies. And he's looking to like just walk home with him, make some jokes, get back to normal. And all of a sudden he sees that, oh, that's where my MP3 player went. And you're doing it so that you could buy a sweatshirt probably, or something like that. Jimmy with the killer line here, he said, when after Sully says, right, $120, and Jimmy says, must be, it sounds like a steal. Oh, sick burn,
yeah.
Jimmy.
Yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah, I was like, oh, it sounds like a steal. Yep. Mr. Simpson and Emma are talking about what to do about tomorrow. And, Mr. Simpson's like, I'm going to let you deal with this. And Emma is going to stand her ground. And Mr. Simpson's like, you're on your own. And, but he's proud of her for he's like, you know what? Whatever happens, you're just going to have to suffer the consequence. But I like what you're fighting for.
Yeah, he says, as a parent, I'll support you and, whatever you do. And I think it's great that you're looking to, have your voice heard. And he even says, but, as your teacher, I'm kind of conflicted. I'm in a bind. And she said, Emma's surprisingly understanding of that, but she's ready to make this decision on her own. And we'll see what will happen the next morning. Hopefully Snake got her to bed at a decent time this time.
Yep. The next morning, Spinner is working in the cafeteria as he got the job for part-time help. And he apologizes to Jimmy for stealing his MP3 player and gives it back to him. But Jimmy will not accept it. So Jimmy, bad luck for Jimmy all around here and Spinner, as Jimmy already lost his girlfriend and now he's ending his best friendship here.
Yeah, 2 down in 2 episodes for Jimmy here. But you can't blame him for feeling hurt here. His friend has stolen from him. It seemed like they there's a lot of trust being challenged there, and it's probably going to take some work for Spinner to mend this fence once again.
Oh yeah,
we've seen them break up a couple times already too. Now. Like we've seen Jimmy and Ashley break up twice. I think we've seen Spinner and Jimmy break up twice.
Yeah, I think it was with the whole honesty thing and stuff like that too. So we'll see how this one takes. But this one I think really takes the cake here. On the morning announcements, Emma said she is sorry for the food fight, but is not sorry for protesting. And Mr. Raditch, she says to Mr. Raditch, I guess I'm going home now. And Mr. Raditch says, yes, you are, as it looks like Emma is going to get that week suspension. And that's where we leave off here.
Yep.
So,
And
2 sour notes, John.
yeah, but an empowering sour note here for Emma, I would say. You know, she's stood up for herself on something that, and for, you know, just all the students, really. She says, hey, the students have a right to know. They can make choices on their own after that. But, you know, we shouldn't just feed them something that they don't really know about. So, you know, as much as I rag on Emma and her causes at times, like, good on her for this time. I'm sure the week suspension, just hanging out at home for a week, is probably a nice break from school. You know, it's not like something that's going to be too terrible. And hell, that's something that's easy enough to explain away if a future university or something would look and say, what's this week-long suspension you had? You say, I was protesting GM foods in my school. And they'd say, wow, good for you.
Yeah, and plus Emma's mom does not know that she got suspended, as Spike was away at a fashion expo, or a hair expo, actually.
Yeah. Yeah, so we'll see what she might have to say upon coming home.
Mm-hmm. MVP, John, I have Emma. This is a very Emma episode. Right off the bat here, she really just stood her ground. Like, it felt like she was complaining a lot, but here I think she really understood what she was talking about, instead of just not getting the facts about, like, the school computers and everything.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think this is her best of any of these protests or issues she's had. She's grown up. She seems a lot more just informed, and also just, like, genuinely principled here. It's not so much the issue of the GM foods she's getting at the end, though, is the, you know, right for students to be able to speak their minds and to be informed, so that this isn't just information or even, you know, food products being, you know, just heaped upon them in this way. So, you know what? Good for Emma here.
LVP, John, I have Spinner. I would say that all three of the guys here, Spinner, Jimmy, and Marco, are candidates, because this is so out of Marco's character to be dissing Spinner and then just taking Jimmy's side about things. And then Jimmy with the line, sucks to be you, and just bragging about, like, the things that Jimmy has and showing off. But, I mean, the real sin, I guess, was stealing. Like, you know, Spinner really just letting his emotions get the best of him, that he would steal his best friend's MP3 player to get money for a new sweatshirt.
Yeah, but I think Jimmy, you know, is you know, you want to put some on Jimmy here. I think Jimmy's just oblivious to his privilege. And, you know, and the difference it causes, like the stark differences it causes between him and some of his friends, some of his classmates here. He doesn't really recognize that. So I'll give him a pass on that, especially because he came out and was the first one to, lead with an apology here. It was Spinner who, you know, for the sole purposes of wanting to, you know, get a sweatshirt to keep up with appearances and such, you know, would steal from his friend, would make a terrible deal in trying to fence that thing in the first place. And yeah, like, so Spinner's just an all around loser here.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's going to do it from us covering our episodes here tonight, John. But do you have anything that you want to direct the listeners to?
Yeah, I direct everybody. You mentioned it before. The 902 and No So podcast, doing great work still, covering the season 4 now of Beverly Hills 90210, knee deep into California University. the other California university, not to be confused with that on Saved by the Bell. And, of course, the daily posts that go up on our PTB page for music video reviews and for film reviews. Some interesting film choices coming up this week. I never knew that I wanted to hear Andy Atherton's take on Eyes Wide Shut until I got into listening to these every day. And they're a quick listen. It's a fun kind of look at some movies you might know and introduce you to some you might not be familiar with. Give it a look.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I need to listen to the film reviews. I should be listening to them, but I think they're amazing to see what everyone's opinions on films are. So I'll take a gander into that too. Yeah, as far as our 90210 knows, so the pods they're going in, they're sailing along in season 4 as they are getting into the college freshman year here. As for me, you can mostly find me on the Place to Be Nation wrestling feed. I just finished up Nation Invasion last month. You can go back into the archives and listen to that. Me and Keith Langston closed out Nation Invasion with the Raw from November 19th, 2001 and SmackDown from November 22nd, 2001, as it was the end of the Alliance, and Ric Flair comes back, and he is now 50-50 partners with Vince McMahon. And over on the Place to Be Nation wrestling feed also, I have Extreme Resurrection, which is going to be on a little bit of a hiatus as we are trying to navigate where to find ECW on Sci-Fi episodes here as well. And so once we get that in, we're going to be taking, again, a look at Kane as the ECW champion and how long his run lasts as we're guiding the ECW waters here. But that's going to do it from us here today on Pop Goes Degrassi. He's John Kesselika. I'm James Gruenberg, and we will see you next time.